Well, good morning, Roger, and welcome to the Mr. Yorkshire studio. It's great to have you here. Now, I know you were not actually born in Yorkshire, you're not far from the border, but I gather your mother's a Yorkshire woman. So we must really say, with your enthusiasm for the region, you're an honorary Yorkshireman.
Well, that's nice to hear. Good morning, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
And this enthusiasm you've got for the role, Roger, I've seen it, it's so evident every time I meet you or I see you speaking publicly as chairman of the Local Enterprise Partnership. Where does this come from?
Yes, I am enthusiastic, but I think it's grounded in a sense of not so much obligation, but recognising kind of where you've come from and what you've been privileged to experience in life, but also looking at the challenges facing our country and for generations to come. And just to illustrate, we sit here with a country that has nearly £1.5 trillion of public debt in its balance sheet. Only a few years ago, before the financial crisis, it was a third of that amount.
Yeah.
Well, for me, having benefited from previous generations, careful management of the economy, etc., it feels a sense of I have to, with others, see if we can sort this out and not leave it to the next generation thereafter to tidy up our mess.
This is probably coming from some of the roles that you've held during your career, and I know you've achieved quite a lot. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background?
Okay, well, as you said, I'm an honorary or adopted Yorkshireman, even though my mother is from Yorkshire. I came to Leeds in the early 70s to read metallurgy at the university, having been successful in getting a sponsorship from the then British Steel. And very much was of a mind that I would go into steel industry and my future would be in that area. I've always been fascinated how things work and how things are made. It occurred to me as I was approaching graduation and considering doing research into iron and steel making that actually, is this going to be the right future? Things happened, serendipity. I was having a conversation with a very senior person in British Steel who was very clear that people like me went down a technology route, and actually the route I wanted to be involved in the business of steel making and that part of the industry. So I was going to be pushed down a route I didn't really think I wanted to go. So I thought, well, actually I want to try and become not so much dual qualified, but have some counterbalance. So that's why I decided, once I had graduated, not to do research, but to join what was then Pricewaterhouse in Leeds, now PwC, and become a chartered accountant. So on the one hand, Bachelor of Science in Metallurgy, chartered accountant on the other hand, and let's see what we make of it.
That's a great combination, and I know you've already had some fantastic success in negotiating with Whitehall. Do you want to tell us about this £1 billion fund that you've got?
Indeed. And I mentioned we have a challenge as a nation, and ordinary growth nationally and from regions like ours will not solve that problem, not in the way that I think it should be solved. So we need to create conditions where extraordinary economic growth can be achieved. And where better than a city region like Leeds with it is the second largest economy in the country, hugely diverse. Yes, it's strong in financial professional services, but it's also very strong in manufacturing, the largest manufacturing area in the country. So if you've got the assets, how do you make them work better? So our proposition to government and to the nation was we believe that over time, given the right powers and the right pounds, that locally we can transform an economy that's effectively a net taker. We have a £4 billion a year benefit bill that come, for on the city region, that we can transform the economy from one that's a net taker to one that's a net contributor. And that is the journey we're on. How do we get from where we are now to there? The £1 billion has a number of components, but essentially they're around supporting businesses to grow and do that at a faster rate than their natural growth trajectory. And we've had quite a lot of success in that area. It's fine supporting businesses, but they've got to deliver that growth. So they need a capable and we need sufficient capacity in our workforce. Jobs of tomorrow, not jobs of today and yesterday. And we've got some challenges there, and I'll talk about some of the examples where we've intervened. To get that workforce skilled and believing that there's a real future and staying in the city region, the places that train, our FE colleges, our universities, they need to be not just good enough, they need to be superb. It's not superlative. That's fine in itself as an ingredient, but then we've got to do this in a resource efficient way. We've got to be smart with our energy. We've got to use the natural resources as efficiently and effectively as we can. And finally, and very importantly, it's fine supporting businesses, it's great giving them the skilled workforce, but we need the infrastructure, the enabling infrastructure, housing, transport, road, rail, air, that actually is what a 22nd century economy should look like, rather than being satisfied with barely well-repaired 19th century. And so within the £1 billion is a significant sum towards a 20-year transport plan. 30 million a year for 20 years from central government, devolved to us locally to invest in the things that will make that difference.
Excellent. And I read in the latest newsletter that you put out, which I think is very useful, and it's full of good positive actions, but 300 companies already and 3,000 jobs created. That's you must be very pleased with that.
Indeed, and what it's shown is that with limited, I did use the phrase government funding, but actually it's our money, it's taxpayers' money. With limited funding that we've had to date, we've delivered extraordinary results, and hence the extraordinary growth agenda. Think what we'll do with the scale of funds that we've had devolved to us. Yes, 300 businesses of varying sizes from the 106,000 SMEs across the city region have had support. They will create at least 3,000 jobs. And they're not all, I should also add, it's not all Leeds. Yes, it's called Leeds City Region Enterprise Partnership, but actually only 30% of the companies that have been supported have an LS postcode. In other words, more than 2/3 outside. But interestingly, 70% by value have gone into businesses that are in some form of manufacturing.
That's really, really good news. Another topical subject at the moment, and I was, I think a week ago, listening to Tom and Sir Howard talking about Leeds and Manchester working together. So devolution is very much on the agenda. Your thoughts on that, Roger?
I think 2 points I'd make is, let's be clear that it is devolution, not decentralisation dressed up, because actually we're on a journey of decentralisation. And for me, whilst I'm interested in the mechanics of it and the process of it, I'm more interested in what it will deliver. And for me, what we should be looking to do is to accelerate this national debt reduction by utilising the devolution dividend. Or put more simply, we have a strategic economic plan for this city region to transform from once a net taker to a net giver. Whatever devolution should look like, in my mind, it should make sure, or it should enable that plan to be more as fully achieved as possible, but importantly, foreshorten the time frame.
Brilliant. Now, you very kindly came to the launch of the concept of the third Yorkshire stripe suit, the grey one.
Yes.
I was pleased to pick this up from my tailor in Headingley yesterday, so designed in Bradford, woven in either Keighley or Huddersfield. This particular one was in Huddersfield, which is actually on the channel. I know I do thank you for that, and I know you're interested in seeing Yorkshire in the stripe. Yeah,
indeed. Well, actually, I'm hopefully going to have the first measurement for my own suit in November, because I think if you're going to support something, you have to do it beyond just words.
Well, that's fantastic, and I think the textile sector, what we've got to do is to try and attract young people into the sector. I mean, people probably tend to think of mill chimneys and smoke and grime, but it's totally transformed now, isn't it? And we've still got some fantastic centres of excellence of textiles, particularly in your region. So this is great to feel that you want to support it too.
Yeah, I think it is important, because it's not about trying to hark back to the past, but using the past success, but setting the current context and the context to come. Great design ideas, things made in Britain, design in Britain have an international resonance. Well, let's make good use of that.
We're hoping to present this to a group of Yorkshire MPs in the House later this month, Roger, so I'll keep you posted on that one. And can I just finally thank you so much indeed. I gather I'm the first person to receive the new lapel badge, and I think it's great. It's a lovely design, and it's good that we should all be shouting about what you're doing and what you're achieving in the region.
Well, that's kind of you, Keith. It's important, actually. It's not just a badge for the sake of it. And when people see it, you'll see that the E stands quite prominent. And it's not about the E for enterprise, local enterprise partnership. It's about an E for enabling. I believe the role of local enterprise partnerships, working in conjunction with the public sector, locally as well as nationally, is how do we enable this growth to take place that we need. Otherwise, come back to where I started, we won't solve this debt problem. And for me, that's a legacy I don't want to leave.
I'm really pleased that we've had you along today, I think, to finish the talk on the word enabling. That's what it's all about. I do thank you so much, Roger. I know you've got a really busy diary, but thank you for coming into the studio today, and we wish you well with your endeavours in the future.
Thank you too, Keith. Thank you.